The legend of Krampus is a centuries-old tradition that originated in the Austrian Alps. Krampus is a creature with the body of a goat and the head of a demon, known for punishing misbehaved children and adults during the winter months. On Krampusnacht, the night before the feast of St. Nicholas, Krampus would emerge from the shadows and descend upon villages, seeking out those who had been naughty and dragging them back to his lair in the dark depths of the mountains. One such misbehaved child was a young boy named Hans. Despite the warnings of his parents and the stories he had heard about Krampus, Hans didn't believe in the legend and thought it was just a silly tale told to scare children into behaving. But one cold winter night, as Hans was walking home from a friend's house, he saw something lurking in the shadows. As it emerged from the darkness, he realized with a sense of dread that it was Krampus. Hans turned and ran, but Krampus was too fast and soon caught up to him. With a snarling growl, the demon dragged Hans back to his lair in the mountains, locking him up in a cold, dank cell. For days, Hans sat in the darkness, praying for a way out. But eventually, he found a way to escape and ran back to the village as fast as he could. When he returned, the villagers were overjoyed to see him and welcomed him back with open arms. From that day on, Hans was a changed boy, always mindful of his behavior and always striving to be good. As the years went by, the legend of Krampus spread far and wide, with tales of the fearsome creature being told all across Europe. In some places, Krampus was seen as the counterpart of St. Nicholas, who would visit children on the night of December 5th, known as Krampusnacht. While Street Nicholas would reward good children with treats and gifts, Krampus would punish the naughty ones, dragging them away to his lair in the mountains. In other parts of Europe, Krampus was seen as a more malevolent figure, with some stories even depicting him as the devil himself. These stories told of Krampus coming to punish not just naughty children, but also adults who had strayed from the path of righteousness. Despite the fear that Krampus inspired in people, there were some who saw him as more of a mischievous trickster than a terrifying monster. In some parts of Europe, Krampus was seen as a kind of jester or court fool, who would play pranks on people and cause mischief as a way of teaching them lessons. Over time, the legend of Krampus evolved and changed, with different stories and traditions springing up all across Europe. But one thing remained constant: Krampus was always seen as a fearsome and powerful being, capable of punishing those who were naughty and rewarding those who were good. As the centuries passed, the legend of Krampus continued to be told and retold, with new stories and traditions being added to the mix. And to this day, the legend of Krampus remains an important part of European folklore, a cautionary tale that reminds people to be good and always strive to do the right thing. But even as the legend of Krampus lived on, there were those who remained skeptical of its truth. They saw it as nothing more than a myth, a way for parents to scare their children into behaving. However, those who had seen Krampus with their own eyes knew that the legend was real. They had experienced the fear and terror of being chased by the fearsome creature, and they knew that Krampus was not to be trifled with. Some even claimed to have heard the sound of his hooves pounding against the ground as he chased them through the darkness, his demon eyes glowing with malevolence. Those who had encountered Krampus warned others to be good and always mind their behavior, lest they risk the wrath of the beast. For it was said that Krampus had a special hatred for those who dared to defy him, and he would stop at nothing to punish them. And so the legend of Krampus lived on, serving as a reminder to all who heard it of the importance of being good and doing the right thing. But even as the legend spread, it took on different forms and meanings in different cultures and traditions. In some places, Krampus was celebrated as a kind of folk hero, with people dressing up as him in elaborate costumes and parading through the streets. In other places, Krampus was seen as a more malevolent figure, with some stories even depicting him as the devil himself. But no matter how the legend was told, one thing remained clear: Krampus was a creature to be feared. For those who dared to defy him, the consequences would be dire. So on Krampusnacht, when the moon was full and the air was cold, people locked their doors and windows, hoping to keep the beast at bay. For it was said that Krampus roamed the land, searching for those who had been naughty, ready to drag them back to his lair in the mountains and punish them for their misdeeds.